My sister planted a stolen necklace in my purse and then called the police. She stood there crying, pointing at me, and my parents believed her without hesitation. When the officer opened my bag, I felt my world collapsing, but what they pulled out next changed everything. Before I tell you what happened, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. My name is Alina. I'm 22 years old, and I've always been the quiet, responsible one in my family. I'm in college, working part-time at a cafe to help pay my tuition, and I've always tried to keep my head down and do the right thing. But in my house, it never seemed to be enough. My younger sister Sierra is 2 years younger than me, and she has always been the center of attention. She's bold, dramatic, and knows how to twist every situation to her advantage. Growing up, she was the one who got praised, while I was the one expected to keep things steady. If Sierra got into trouble, my parents defended her. If I made a mistake, they scolded me. My mom, Rebecca, often said things like, "Sierra just has a spark, Alina. You should learn from her." My dad, Paul, usually stayed quiet, but his silence often felt like agreement. I loved them, but I couldn't ignore the way they treated me compared to her. Despite all of this, I tried to maintain peace at home. I thought if I stayed patient, they'd eventually see who I really was, someone honest, hardworking, and dependable. But Sierra knew exactly how to play the role of the golden child, and she used that power in ways that left me feeling small. One evening, when the whole family gathered for dinner, Sierra showed off a necklace she had recently bought. It sparkled under the light, and she made sure everyone noticed. I admired it from a distance, but didn't say much. Compliments seemed wasted because she thrived on them and always wanted more. She smirked across the table at me and said, "Don't you wish you had something like this, Alina? Maybe if you stopped being so boring, you could." My cheeks burned, but I didn't answer. I was used to her digs by now. What I didn't know was that the necklace would become the center of a storm that would tear open everything in my family and nearly destroy me. The night everything fell apart started like any other family gathering. My parents had invited some relatives over, and the house buzzed with voices, food, and laughter. I was in the kitchen helping Mom while Sierra floated from person to person, making sure everyone noticed her. She had worn that necklace again, the sparkling one she'd been showing off for weeks. She touched it constantly, drawing attention to it, smiling whenever someone complimented her. At one point, I carried a tray of drinks into the living room. As I passed by Sierra, she leaned close and whispered just loud enough for me to hear, "Careful, Alina. Don't spill anything on my necklace. You wouldn't want to ruin something you can't afford." I bit my tongue and kept walking. I had learned the hard way that snapping back at her only made things worse. The evening went on, and people slowly started leaving. That's when I heard Sierra cry out. Her voice was sharp, full of panic. "My necklace. It's gone. Someone stole it." The room froze. My mom rushed to her side immediately. "What do you mean it's gone?" she asked, her voice full of worry. "I had it on just a few minutes ago," Sierra wailed, clutching her empty neck dramatically. "Now it's gone. Someone must have taken it." Everyone started looking around, checking the floor, the couch, the tables. My heart pounded, but I didn't think much of it at first. I assumed it had slipped off or she had misplaced it, but then Sierra's eyes landed on me. "I saw Alina near my bag earlier," she said suddenly, pointing at me with shaking hands. "She probably took it. She's been jealous of me forever." My mouth fell open. "What? No, I never touched your stuff, Sierra. Why would you even say that?" Her eyes filled with fake tears as she clung to Mom's arm. "She's always hated me, Mom. She thinks I get everything, and now she's trying to take what's mine." The air in the room shifted. My relatives whispered among themselves. My mom's face tightened, and my dad avoided looking at me. "Alina," Mom said firmly, "just show us your purse. If you didn't take it, then you have nothing to hide." My chest burned with humiliation. "Are you serious? You actually believe her?" "Enough," Mom snapped. If you're innocent, prove it. My hand shook as I picked up my purse from the chair where I'd left it. I wanted to throw it at them and walk out, but I knew that would only make me look guilty. My voice trembled as I said, "Fine, look all you want." Before anyone could open it, Sierra crossed her arms and said loudly, "No, we need the police. If she stole it, this is a crime." I stared at her in shock. "Sierra, this is insane. It's a necklace, not—" She cut me off. "It's mine. It's valuable. I'm calling the police." And she did. Right there, in front of everyone, she called and reported it stolen. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own sister was painting me as a thief, and my parents stood there letting it happen. When the officer arrived, the whole atmosphere changed. He was calm, professional, but the weight of his presence made the situation unbearable. He asked a few questions, then turned to me. "Miss, may I see your purse?" My heart raced as I handed it over. I had nothing to hide, but the way Sierra stood behind him smirking made my stomach twist. He unzipped the bag slowly, reaching inside, and then he pulled out the necklace. Gasps filled the room. My mom's face crumpled with disappointment, and my dad shook his head. I felt like the floor had given out beneath me. "No," I whispered, my voice breaking. "That's not possible. I didn't put it there. I swear to you, I didn't." Sierra's eyes gleamed with victory. "I told you, she's been jealous her whole life. She couldn't stand me having something beautiful. So she stole it." Tears burned in my eyes as I turned to my parents. "You have to believe me. I didn't take it. She set me up." But they just looked away, too caught up in the scene Sierra had staged. The officer studied me carefully. He didn't say much, but I could tell he wasn't fully convinced either way. He asked if he could search the rest of my purse. My parents nodded quickly, eager to settle the matter once and for all. As he reached deeper into the bag, my whole body shook. I knew I hadn't stolen anything, but Sierra's plan was working perfectly. If he found more, if she had planted something else, I didn't know how I would defend myself. In that moment, surrounded by accusing eyes, and with my parents doubting me, I had never felt more alone. The necklace, sitting in the officer's hand, felt like a stone crushing my chest. Everyone in the room stared at me like I had finally revealed my true self, the jealous, bitter sister Sierra had always painted me to be. My mother's eyes filled with disappointment, and my father kept rubbing his forehead, as if the shame of it all was too heavy to bear. Sierra stood just behind them, arms crossed, her expression carefully balanced between fake sadness and smug victory. I tried to steady my breathing. "That's not mine. I didn't take it," I said firmly. "She put it there." My voice cracked, but I refused to back down. The officer, Detective Collins, didn't dismiss me right away. He was calm, professional, and his eyes studied me in a way that made me feel like he was weighing every detail. He asked, "Miss, are you saying your sister planted this in your bag?" "Yes," I said quickly. "She's been jealous of me before, but this is different. She wanted everyone to believe I'm a thief." Sierra scoffed loudly. "Oh, please. She's been bitter since we were kids. She always wants attention, and now she's trying to drag me down with her." She turned to my parents, her voice trembling like she was on the verge of tears. "You believe me, right? You've always known what she's like." My mom wrapped her arm around Sierra protectively, like she was the victim. "Alina, this looks very bad. How could you do this to your own sister?" Anger surged through me, burning hotter than my fear. "Because I didn't do it," I snapped. "You're all so blinded by her act that you can't even see the truth. She lies, she manipulates, and you always take her side." The room went quiet. My words hung in the air like smoke no one wanted to breathe in. My father shifted uncomfortably, but he didn't say a word. Detective Collins raised his hand slightly to calm the tension. "All right, I've seen siblings accuse each other before, but something here doesn't sit right with me. If you're innocent, Miss Rhodes, then you won't mind if I check the rest of your purse thoroughly." "Please do," I said, my voice firm this time. "Check everything." Sierra stiffened. For the first time that evening, she didn't look so confident. She took a step forward, her voice high-pitched. "Why do you need to check more? You already found it. Isn't that enough?" She clearly had it. The detective turned to her slowly. "It's my job to be thorough. If she's guilty, more evidence might confirm it. If she's not, then the search will clear her name. Either way, we get answers." I saw Sierra's face twitch as she tried to hide her panic. She forced a smile and said, "Fine, do whatever you want. Just don't let her talk her way out of this." Detective Collins ignored her and began pulling out the contents of my purse one by one. My wallet, my keys, my phone, a few pens, some receipts. He set everything neatly on the table. Then he ran his hand along the lining inside. His brow furrowed. "There's something here," he murmured. Sierra shifted again, her arms crossing tighter. "It's just junk. Don't waste your time." But Collins carefully pried open a small hidden seam at the bottom corner of the purse. To my shock, he pulled out a folded piece of paper and a small velvet pouch I had never seen before. My breath caught in my throat. He opened the pouch first. Inside was nothing but a crumpled pawnshop receipt. He unfolded it, scanned the words, and then looked up at Sierra. "This receipt is for a bracelet, sold earlier today. The seller's name matches yours. Sierra Rhodes." The entire room froze. "What?" my mom whispered. She turned to Sierra, confusion written all over her face. "You sold jewelry today?" Sierra's face went pale. "That's not mine," she stammered. "She's setting me up. She probably planted it there herself." Detective Collins's voice sharpened. "Miss Rhodes, this was hidden inside your sister's purse. If she were the thief, why would she also have a receipt with your name on it? That doesn't make sense." My father finally spoke, his voice heavy. "Sierra, tell me the truth." But Sierra's usual confidence was gone. She shook her head quickly, her voice breaking. "No, I don't know how it got there. This is all wrong." I stood there trembling, not just from fear anymore, but from the surge of hope building in my chest. For the first time, the spotlight was shifting away from me and onto her. Detective Collins tucked the receipt into an evidence bag. He looked at my parents and then back at Sierra. "There's a strong possibility your daughter staged this entire thing. Until I investigate further, I can't say for sure, but what I've seen so far doesn't line up with her story." My mom looked stunned. She opened her mouth, closed it, and then finally whispered, "Sierra, why?" Sierra didn't answer. She just stood there, eyes darting wildly, her perfect lie starting to crumble. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the powerless sister begging to be heard. I had spoken up. I had stood my ground. And now the truth was beginning to surface. The room felt like it was holding its breath. My parents stared at Sierra, waiting for her to explain. But for the first time in her life, she had no clever excuse ready. Her mouth opened and closed as she searched for words that would make everything disappear. The confidence that usually oozed out of her was gone, replaced by a panicked look I had never seen before. Detective Collins kept his voice steady, but there was no mistaking the edge of authority in it. "Sierra, the receipt has your name, your signature, and the exact time you sold the bracelet today. Yet here you are accusing your sister of stealing your necklace. Can you explain why you were pawning jewelry that supposedly belongs to you?" Sierra's cheeks flushed deep red. "That's not what it looks like. I didn't pawn it. Someone must have stolen my ID or something. She pointed at me suddenly. She probably did it. She could have forged my name." Collins didn't even flinch. "Pawn shops take identification. This receipt wouldn't exist without your ID. If we check the shop's cameras, we'll see who made that sale. And I'm willing to bet it wasn't your sister." My father's face turned pale as realization began to settle over him. "Sierra, you lied." His voice cracked, part anger, part heartbreak. "No, Dad, I didn't. I swear," she pleaded, but her voice was shrill, desperate. She looked like a child caught in a lie, grasping for straws. My mother, who had always defended her, stepped closer, holding the receipt in her trembling hands. Sierra, why would you do this? Why would you set up your own sister? Tears spilled down Sierra's cheeks, but they didn't look genuine anymore. They looked like the kind of tears you shed when the walls are closing in. I needed money, okay? I sold the bracelet, but I was going to replace it before anyone noticed. Then I couldn't find the necklace and thought, you thought what? I cut in, my voice shaking with anger. That ruining me would somehow make it easier? That having me humiliated in front of everyone would distract them from what you were doing? She glared at me through her tears, her jaw tight. You don't understand. You're always the perfect one. You get good grades, you work, you never mess up. Everyone always expects me to live up to that. I just wanted them to look at me for once and see that I was worth something. I almost laughed at the bitterness of it. Worth something? You made me out to be a thief just to protect your image. You didn't care if I lost. Everything. You just wanted the attention. The silence that followed was deafening. My parents looked shattered. My mom covered her mouth with her hand, shaking her head. All these years, I thought I was protecting you, but all I did was let you hurt your sister. Detective Collins cleared his throat. For now, I'll be filing a report on this incident. Sierra, you could be facing serious consequences for making a false claim and attempting to frame someone else. If the pawn shop footage confirms what I suspect, this matter won't just stay within this family. Sierra gasped, her tears falling harder now. No, please, I didn't mean for it to go this far. But the damage was done. Her perfect lie had cracked wide open, and there was no putting it back together. My father finally turned to me, his voice heavy with guilt. Alina, I am so sorry. We should have believed you. We should have given you the same trust we always gave her. I swallowed hard, blinking back my own tears. All I ever wanted was for you to see me for who I am, not who she says I am. Collins gathered the evidence, the necklace, the receipt, and even the pouch Sierra had hidden. I'll be in touch, he said firmly before leaving. The moment the door closed behind him, the weight of everything came crashing down. Sierra stood frozen in the living room, tears streaking her face. But this time, no one rushed to comfort her. My mom sat down heavily, staring at the floor, while my dad walked away to the kitchen, shaking his head. The silence between us was louder than any argument we had ever had. For the first time in years, I felt like the truth was finally visible, not twisted by Sierra's stories, not brushed aside by my parents' blind defense of her, but real and undeniable. They saw me now. They saw what I had been living with. I looked at Sierra one last time. You tried to bury me with your lies, but you buried yourself instead. She didn't answer. She just looked away, unable to meet my eyes. And in that moment, I knew things would never go back to the way they were. The house felt different after Detective Collins left. It was quieter, heavier, as if the truth had sucked all the energy out of the walls. My parents sat in silence, and Sierra lingered by the staircase, her eyes red from crying, but her face still tense, as if she was searching for a way out of the mess she had created. I stood there in the middle of the room, caught between anger, sadness, and relief. For years, I had been the invisible one, the daughter who blended into the background, while my sister shined in the spotlight. I had been doubted, ignored, and sometimes even blamed for things I didn't do. But tonight, everything flipped. For the first time, Sierra's lies didn't work. For the first time, my parents saw her manipulations for what they were. And for the first time, they finally saw me. My mom broke the silence. Her voice was quiet, shaky. Alina, I don't know what to say. We were wrong. I was wrong. She looked at me with eyes that seemed older, wearier than they had earlier that day. I've spent so much time protecting Sierra, defending her, and I never realized how much damage I was doing to you. I swallowed hard. Part of me wanted to accept her apology right away, to pretend everything could be fine again. but another part of me needed to sit with the pain I had carried for so long. I just needed you to believe me, I said softly. That's all I ever wanted. My dad stepped closer, guilt heavy in his voice. We should have trusted you. We let ourselves be blinded by Sierra's act, and we failed you as parents. I can't take back what happened, but I promise it won't happen again. Their words mattered, but I couldn't ignore the ache in my chest. It wasn't just about this one night. It was about years of being compared, dismissed, and doubted. I realized forgiveness wouldn't come in a single conversation. It would take time, and it would take actions, not just words. Sierra finally spoke, her voice small. I didn't mean for it to get this bad, she sniffled, wiping her face. I felt like no one cared about me unless I was the center of attention. I thought if Alina looked guilty, I would look better. Her words stung, but they also revealed something I hadn't expected: insecurity. For all her confidence and dramatic flair, Sierra had been desperate for validation, but that didn't excuse what she did. You hurt me, Sierra, I said firmly. You didn't just try to ruin my reputation. You called the police on me. You were ready to let me take the blame for something I didn't do. That's not just sibling rivalry. That's betrayal. She looked down at the floor, unable to meet my eyes. For once, she didn't have a comeback. The next few days were strange. My parents tiptoed around me, trying to show me extra kindness. Sierra avoided me, spending most of her time locked in her room. The necklace incident became the unspoken shadow hanging over the house. But for me, it was also a turning point. I realized that I didn't need to fight for my parents' recognition anymore. I had spent years hoping they would finally see me, but in chasing that, I had let their approval hold too much power over my life. That night, when the truth came out, I saw something clearly for the first time. I already knew who I was. I was honest. I was hardworking, and no amount of lies could take that away from me. The relief was powerful. Yes, I was hurt. And yes, trust would take time to rebuild, but I no longer felt invisible. I wasn't the weak, forgettable daughter. I was the one who stood tall even when the world turned against me. Eventually, Sierra faced consequences, not just from the family, but legally too. Detective Collins followed up, and the pawnshop footage confirmed what we already knew. Sierra had sold the bracelet herself. While the case didn't lead to anything severe, it left a permanent mark. Her credibility with my parents was shattered. As for me, I walked away with a lesson I will carry for the rest of my life. Lies might shine for a moment, but truth always breaks through. My sister tried to bury me with her deceit, but in the end, she buried herself. To anyone listening to my story, I want you to know this. If you've ever been the one nobody believed, the one who stood accused when you were innocent, hold on to your truth. Because when the lies fall apart, and they always do, your honesty will be the thing that stands. And if you take one thing from me today, let it be this. Never let someone else's version of you replace the real one. You know who you are, and eventually, others will see it too. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more powerful stories like this, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'd love to hear your thoughts.